Hi everybody. Hi all my friends. Hi everyone who's tuned in today. It's a beautiful day that the Lord has made, that we may rejoice and be glad in. I want to say hi to all my friends in Nanyuki. Hi to all my friends in Nakuru. Hi to all my friends in Nairobi. And hi to everyone else who is able to watch today. And all those who subscribe to my channel. I'm so glad to be here today. As usual, so excited to have this wonderful day again to come here and talk to you all. As I said earlier in my intro, I have a lot of topics that I thought maybe we'll be able to talk about as we go on, but also I don't intend for these segments to be boring. So today, as I'm here, glad as usual and happy and excited as usual, I had a lot of topics in my head that I really wanted to talk about. So I've juggled a lot to reach to whatever I've decided to talk about today. But still we'll be meeting. I have a lot, as I've said. So for today, I thought about a topic that has been on my head for a while. Those who know, I love writing also. I've been writing a lot of stories in my page. And I thought let me just share one of the stories that really touched my heart, and because it almost happened during this time that people are taking their kids to Form 1, or maybe parents are juggling where to take their kids to Form 1. So maybe some of my friends might know this story, but I want to share it with all of you, all my friends in diaspora, those I've forgotten to say hi to. And it's a topic that is really touching to my heart, and I love speaking about things that I've gone through, my life experiences. So today I'm here to talk about a story that happened to me, happened to my son. So I won't be mentioning the name of the school or maybe the characters that were involved, but it's a story that some of my friends are aware of, and I want to talk about it, maybe to give an alert to some parents, or just like a story that maybe would help someone. So it was during the Form 1 period, and I was taking my son to Form 1. So during that time, we had a lot of issues. I was so down, I couldn't afford even to take him to that Form 1. And he'd gotten a school that we so wished for him to go to. So during that time, we got a chance in that school that I was so happy to take him to. And coincidentally, we lived just directly opposite that school at that time. So we had the dates for taking him to school, and for money issues, we couldn't afford to take him earlier. So finally we juggled, and we were able to take him, though a bit late. He went a bit late, almost, if I'm not wrong, I think a day or two before the deadline. And we were so excited because at least we were able to take him after struggling so much to look for funds here and there. We were able to take him to school. So he went to the school, and we got so overjoyed about it. So fast forward, after going to the school, he didn't even take, I think it was after a week or something. I went to work as usual, and there's this guy who used to carry me with Buddha, called me in the morning around 9ish, and told me, where are you? I told him I'm at work, and he told me, please can you hurry and come to that specific school, because it wasn't far from where I was working from. So I just took another Buddha and headed straight to the school. Going to the school, mark you, the school had not called me. So going to the school, I went straight to the administration, if I'm not wrong. So going to the administration, no, before I even went to the administration, there were some benches immediately after you enter the gate. There were some benches where parents used to sit as you wait, and maybe the kids before they were enrolled to Form 1 now. So I found my son seated there, and I wondered what the problem was. And so after inquiring, I heard that there was an issue that he had written, I don't know, with some kids. They had written some letters to another boy threatening him or something. So it didn't seem like a big deal. So eventually we went to the office now to get the story, and he was involved with another boy also who was a neighbor. So going to the office, we went to hear the story, and they narrated what happened, that there was a letter that was written, that was exchanged between the boys, but they didn't really know who had written the letter. So eventually, after some, now the teacher is the one who's telling us, the teacher that we found in charge of that case told us that after some investigation they did in class, they eventually came out with my son being the one who had written that letter. And the letter, I don't know, it's only that I think I have it somewhere. The letter said, can I really remember the words? It was just like a simple letter that looked like a joke. And then on the sides of the letter, he had drawn a gun. There was a gun there saying, "I'll shoot you." So the gun was the issue. That, okay, that time where we lived, they said a lot of parents are police, army officers. So getting a gun for a kid was easier. So the story went that the school had the fear that that child who had written that thing could manage to get the gun. So it became an issue, and eventually he was expelled from school. Now, after we left school and went home, now my son narrates for me whatever the ordeal he went through that night before now the morning. And remember, the school didn't even call me in the morning. So in the my son narrates the story that at night, after it was said that he was the one who'd written that letter, 2 teachers called him in the office. And he was asked by one of the teachers, "Admit that you are the one who wrote the letter." And he said, "No, I'm not the one who wrote the letter." And that became an issue. They started beating him. And I think he was beaten by 3 teachers, if I'm not wrong. That's the story now that he gave me. And he was forced to admit that he is the one who's written that letter. Then eventually he was sent to go and write an apology letter saying he was the one who has written that letter and he was apologizing. So he went and asked now this other boy that I found him with, our neighbor also, they were expelled together. He was a bit older than him at that time. He was in Form 3 and and my son was in Form 1. So he went to confirm from that boy if it is okay for him to admit that he was the one who wrote that letter, and for sure he wasn't the one who wrote the letter. Now the boy told him, to make things easier, I think you should just apologize and make it easier. So my son wrote the letter and took it back. Now that is where things went worse, because they had the proof now that he was the one who had written that other letter, the original letter. So first things forward, from there they beat him that night, and eventually he was sent, his beddings were taken from the bed and he had nowhere to sleep. So eventually he slept at the soldiers. He slept with the soldier that day, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, he slept with the soldier. So whatever I'm trying to show is the ordeal he went through that night, and I'm just a neighbor to the school, of which they could have called me even that night to report to me that my son had done whatever they were claiming he did. So that is the ordeal he went through the night. And remember this other morning when this boda guy is calling me, they had not even given him breakfast. So he was angry. He slept outside with the soldier for fear that he might shoot that boy that he claimed in the letter he wanted to shoot. So eventually when I came, they were not even sorry for the ordeal he went through. And what annoyed me most in that ordeal is that one of the teachers, as he was beating my son, remember I've told you that time I had a lot of money issues, and my son went to school with the shoes that he had used in class 8. They were not so good and not so bad, they were in the middle. So that teacher was beating my son, telling another teacher, "Look at his shoes, he looks like a thug. This is a thug." And that is what annoyed me in that whole ordeal. Not even the fact that they forced him to admit that he had written that letter. What annoyed me the most is the fact that a teacher who is also a parent like me, And I feel so bad when I say this story, because at times I feel like I should just say the name of this teacher or write a story about him somewhere in Facebook for people to know what kind of person he is. To call another parent's child a thug just because of his shoes. Where were the shoes, the issue of the shoes coming from in that ordeal? So parents, as I talk about this story, it still saddens me, because from there, my son had developed some fear of the school, and he really loved that school. He really, really loved that school, because after that ordeal, I went so many times because that is where his heart was. He really wanted to go back, and he really wanted to prove to them that he was not the one who wrote that letter. But they could not give him an ear, because that teacher already had spoiled. He is a thug. So all the teachers that were there that day believed he was a thug. There was no one to stand for him. But I thank the principal of that school, because eventually he talked to me in a very polite way after I'd gone there for several occasions, because they used to write, we go after every 2 weeks, the board to meet and stuff like that. But eventually, he looked for a school for my son. And he told me, I don't know why there are some teachers here who don't like your child. So the only best thing you can do for him is to remove him from here. Because any small thing that can happen along the way, they'll still claim it is him. So he looked for a school for me, and eventually we transferred my son. And mark you, that was that school that he had an issue in was a boarding school. So the school that we were transferred in, because eventually now first term was almost over, so we went to a day school, and it was that principal that looked for that day school for him, and eventually promised me that if ever you want to take him again to a boarding school, just come and look for another school for you. And sure to his word, I went and he looked for another school for me. So why I wanted to share this story is because as parents, we face a lot of challenges at times, and as much as we'd want even our kids to understand, at times they don't. They want what they want. They believe what they want is what is right. And now children of nowadays are not like us those days, where your hand could be held and be taken to that school and be forced to be there. These children of nowadays know what they want, unlike us. And when a child wants a particular school and he's worked hard for that school, you really feel you need to take that child to that school. But beware of these teachers. There are some teachers that demoralize kids. There are these teachers who make these kids feel like they don't belong. Because when a teacher speaks something like, look at the shoes of this child, look at the clothes this child is wearing, this is a thug. And it doesn't even know the background of that child. It really makes you feel bad, because you're struggling to make sure this child goes to that school. You have no finances to be able to. You are not the same as the other parents. So when somebody utters such words to a child, it really hurts you. So as parents, when a kid comes home and complains about a particular teacher or a particular issue in school, don't ignore. Don't ignore. Take charge and go sit down with that particular teacher or somebody you can speak to in a school, because definitely there'll be a teacher you'll be able to speak with, and see a way to sort that thing out. If it can't be sorted, kindly remove your kid from that school, because it demoralizes that child. It makes that child not study that in that environment, because already it is a polluted environment for that child. So if your child has an issue in that school, remove them from there, because eventually they end up being called the bad company. They end up being given names, the criminals in the school, just because of that particular teacher who didn't like that child, maybe the way they are dressing, maybe, such things. So parents, as much as we want to take our kids to, and most of us now are preparing for Form 1, those who had kids in class 8, beware. Beware of those teachers. Beware when your kid comes home complaining. Beware when you see changes in your kid's behavior. Maybe he was a jovial, happy child, a child who liked talking, and eventually they come and tone down. Definitely something is amiss. Don't be too busy for these teenagers. They also need us as much as the young ones. They also need us as much as we need that money that we are going to look for. So have time for your kids, especially the teenagers. They are also confused. They also have challenges. They are also stressed up because of the changes they are seeing in the environment. They are changing friends. So many issues are affecting them also. So be there for your children. They are still children as much as they are teens. Be there for them. So that is a topic that has been bugging my mind, and especially now that I've had to deal with 2 teenagers, and I really wanted to talk to parents about it. And there are so many things that you notice, if this child is not helped at those particular stages, they end up looking for other ways of feeling content or bringing their joy back, and they end up going to things that are not conducive or good for them. Some end up doing drugs, some end up engaging in alcohol, in girls, in boys, So have time for your kids. I beg you, have time for those teenagers. They also need you as much as the younger ones. And I think this is a topic that can't be finished today. And it has been talked about in so many ways. And I still hope to talk about it with maybe some guests, maybe just to enlighten a little bit, because all of us are parents and we have different ways of tackling these things. So maybe the next time I talk about it, I'll have some visitors to share it with. And also, you are my visitors. Write down below in the comments on anything you feel I've left out, or any challenges you've faced before, or maybe an issue that is almost similar as mine. Write down on the comment and I'll sure tackle it and talk about it. Or any other way, maybe you'd want our set to be, anything maybe you'd want us to change to make these segments not so boring, interesting, exciting, and joyous. So I think for today I'll leave it at that. And all those who subscribed, I'm just so excited and happy and glad to know I have a lot of friends. And those I don't know, I'm hoping to know soon. And I just want to wish you a very